Okay, here we go. So the American corporatocracy is on the move, and they are currently trying to upend Nina Turner's campaign. So here we are. We're here. The election is this week. As you guys know, Nina Turner is up against her opponent, Shontel Brown. Both of these people are vying for the Democratic nomination to the seat held recently by Marcia Fudge, who, of course, Joe Biden uh, put as his Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. So it's a solidly blue district. So whichever one of them wins this primary will likely go on to hold the seat. And so several months ago, early into this, if you looked at polls that gave you indications of who was leading in this primary, or in this election, you had Nina Turner ahead by miles. I mean, it was ridiculous how many points she was up on her opponent. And as the election grew closer and it seemed like she was really going to win, which I really hope she does, and she may very well win, but it's going to be a close race nonetheless, the corporate sector, and not just the Democratic corporate sector, we'll get into that in just a second, but the corporate sector as a whole has essentially coalesced and has come together to basically destroy everything that is Nina Turner and what she stands for in her overall campaign. So they're all coming together to back her establishment corporate candidate, whose name is Shontel Brown. And this woman is incredibly corrupt in more ways than five. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of backstory on who this person is, she's essentially and I'm not going to go into great detail, but she's essentially an empty vessel that doesn't stand for anything whatsoever. So she opposes the $15 minimum wage. She opposes raising the minimum wage. The minimum wage in this country, I should remind you, is $7.25. It's a poverty wage. Nowhere in this country can you get an apartment anywhere, any place to live, working full time on minimum wage in this country. Nowhere can you do it. That isn't enough money for a person to live anymore, and that's a fact. Okay, she opposes things like Medicare for all, universal college, and many other progressive legislation that we would like to see be made law. Now, what they've been doing is they've been relentlessly lying and smearing Nina Turner. So this morning, I logged onto Twitter and I saw that this old video of Nina Turner being interviewed by Maliek-sama, and basically he asked her, I can't remember when exactly this was. I think it was sometime in 2020, like before, maybe it was after Bernie dropped out or something. I can't really remember. But he asked her, who did you vote for in 2016? Did you vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016? And Nina's response was, well, I think voting is a private matter and things of that nature. And they're bringing this out now that the election is this week. And they're saying, oh, she voted for Joe Stein. Oh, she's against Biden's agenda. She's not for Biden. And that's one of the arguments that Shontel Brown's backers are using. They're using the argument that Nina Turner is against Biden's agenda. She's anti-Democrat. She's not a Democrat. She wants to help the Republicans. That's one of the lines of attack that they're using here. And my rebuttal to that is, she's not for Biden's agenda. That sounds pretty good to me. Okay, if you actually know what her agenda is. See, her agenda is Medicare for all, universal college, legalizing marijuana, ending the drug war, ending the wars that we're fighting, the atrocities that we're committing across the world, right? Against other sovereign nations, right? That's her agenda. What is Joe Biden's agenda? Increasing profits to give to the rich and the wealthy, not raising taxes on the rich and the wealthy and corporations, not giving us universal college, not giving us universal health care, not legalizing marijuana, not ending the drug war. You know, that's Biden's agenda. Biden ran on a public option. We haven't seen that just yet. Biden supposedly ran on the $15 minimum wage. That fight actually came up. They didn't do anything about it. They didn't fight for it. We didn't get the $15 minimum wage. We're still sitting here with a $7.25 minimum wage in this country. So to be against the Biden agenda doesn't sound like such a bad thing to me, but they're trying to make it seem that way. Okay, because she's not an establishment-backed candidate. She is an outsider. And so they're trying to throw out every argument they can to smear her. They even said she wasn't for Medicare for all. They even said she wasn't for something like a Green New Deal. They're doing everything in their power to make this woman look bad so that the corporate-backed candidate can come away with the victory. Now, to motion back to the corporate-backed candidate that is Shontel Brown, she's incredibly corrupt. Now, I mentioned before that this isn't just the Democratic corporatocracy, the Democratic corporatists that are helping Shontel Brown. No, she's receiving money from corporate Republicans, from people that have donated to Donald Trump's inaugural campaign, such as Robert Kraft, that gave millions of dollars to Donald Trump and other Republicans. He gave a lot of money to Shontel Brown, as well as many other Republican entities and foundations that donate typically to Republican candidates. And there's a reason for this. You see, the real fight, the real battle in this country isn't with Democrats and Republicans. And it takes a person that is objective and has kind of an all-seeing eye to really see this. A person that doesn't have the partisan worms crawling around in their brain. And it's not difficult. I'm not trying to say that I'm somehow high-minded and intellectual. No, it just takes an objective look at things to figure this out. The fight in this country isn't along Democrats and Republicans. It's along the owner class and the working class. The 1% against the 99%. And one of these candidates represents the 99% and the other candidate represents the 1%. And I think you can figure out who represents what, right? And so what's happening is the owner class, the corporates, they've recognized that this goes far beyond Democrats and Republicans. And so whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're a corporatist, you're uniting here because you want to stop Nina Turner and what she stands for, because she stands for the American people and, the working people of this country. And they don't want those people to get leaders elected, because if they get, certain leaders elected, i.e. Nina Turner, and they get enough leaders elected, then this change that they want to stop so bad they don't want to occur might actually end up coming to fruition, might actually end up happening. God forbid they have to pay higher taxes or whatever the fuck, And so they're trying to stop these events from happening. They're trying to prevent Nina Turner from getting in that seat, because God knows that if she does, of course, all of our problems won't be solved. We won't instantly get universal health care or anything like that. But this will add to the fight. The progressives will have more ammunition to throw at these corporatists, because Nina Turner is a fire-breathing dragon and she has a lot of fight in her, and she will not lay down, as we've seen from many of her, I hope, soon-to-be colleagues in the past when it comes to fighting for progressive legislation. Now, as previously stated, there have been a slew of attacks on Nina Turner, just bad faith attacks, just completely untrue accusations. They bring up the thing about where they say that where Nina Turner said that voting for Donald Trump was like eating a bowl full of shit, and voting for Joe Biden was like eating half a bowl full of shit. And they take issue with that, and that's a completely true statement, unless you have the partisan brain worms. They take issue with the fact that she is an unabashedly Bernie supporter. You know how vitriolic the corporate wing of the Democratic Party is to Bernie Sanders and the people that support him. Hillary Clinton came out and backed her opponent, Shontel Brown. That should tell you enough as it is. One of the most hated people in the country, one of the most arrogant, narcissistic people in the country that believes that she is literally the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. I'm referencing Hillary Clinton here. I'm surprised Obama hasn't come out and said something endorsing Shontel Brown. This should tell you, all these people, all these corporatists coming out of the woodworks to back Shontel Brown should be an indication of how fucked these corporate people feel. They feel like Nina Turner can win, and she very well can, and I really hope that she does. But what's been happening lately in regards to this campaign has been really nasty and just flat out vile from Shontel Brown and her people that are supporting her. I mean, she's so insanely corrupt. She's shuffled like $17 million to her partner through approving contracts. And the contractors whose contract she approved turned around and supported her for her campaign. The corruption never ends. She's insanely corrupt. And there's also an ethics probe going on with that situation. You can read about it more if you would like. I really encourage you to look into it. It sheds more light on how awful of a person she is. And like I said before, she's an empty vessel. She doesn't stand for anything. And allow me to extend this last olive branch as to why I believe Nina Turner will be very important if she attains this seat. Remember back when the whole forced to vote thing was going on, and they were telling, lefties online, left leaders, they were telling our supposed leaders in Washington to withhold their vote for Pelosi and extract either concessions or, which was the big thing, force a vote on Medicare for all, right? And they didn't do so. And one of the things that they threw back at us, in specifically AOC among others, was that we need to save political capital for a fight that we know that we can win, i.e. the $15 minimum wage. Now, fast forward, as we know now, that fight actually came up, it arose, and the lefties in Congress, the so-called squad, they laid down like a hit dog. They didn't get put down, they laid down. They were told to heel, and they did so. Now, what I want for you to imagine is, imagine if Nina Turner was in Congress during that time when the fight for the $15 minimum wage came up. I can't imagine her laying down the way that they laid down. And I'm not saying that her on her own could have, given us the $15 minimum wage. What I am saying is, imagine if she was there. And imagine if she didn't lay down the way that they laid down. Imagine if she didn't accept the parliamentarians' rule. And if she went to her fellow colleagues, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Pramila Jayapal, Cori Bush, among others, and said, hey, look, we need to come together. We need to form a bloc. And we need to stop any kind of legislation from passing until we get the $15 minimum wage. And she would have been standing out on the front line. She would have taken all the arrows, right? And the rest of them who were more tepid and feeble and scared could have stood behind the crusading warrior for the $15 minimum wage that I believe Nina Turner is. And that sounds really bad on her part because, of course, she's going to be hated, but she's used to it at this point. She's a former senator. Okay, she's held these beliefs for a very long time. She's been a supporter of Mr. Sanders for a very long time. She knows what it's like for the media and other politicians to be vitriolic towards her. So this is nothing new. Okay, the other congressmen who are more new to the game, although that's no excuse whatsoever, they're a bit more scared to actually execute these tactics. But I believe in my heart of hearts that Nina Turner would not be. And if she was there during the time of that fight, I truly do believe that, maybe we wouldn't have gotten a different result. Maybe we would have. But I know for a fact that it wouldn't have went down the way that it did. So we need to get her elected. This would be a big victory for the left, and the left needs it because the left needs to be invigorated. We've been beat down so much over this past year, 2 years. I mean, ever since, Bernie first started running, we've been getting beat down year after year, and we've been getting little victories in and far between, but that's all that it's been. But if Nina Turner gets his seat, this will be a really prominent and prolific victory for the left, and I truly do hope that it happens because her opponent would do nothing but hurt us.